So this is going to be footage from last Monday, January 8th. Sorry, last Monday, January 4th was the first trading day of the year. And what I want to show is how much ask pressure there was. I also want to show just an incredibly stupid trade that I tried to make on this day. And when I was watching it this weekend, I was annoyed with myself for it. But as always, try to turn it into a learning experience. And I learned from it, so I want you guys to learn from it now too. So to set this up, we're looking at Amazon, and I'm also going to look at a little bit of Tesla as well. You'll see me kind of jumping back and forth between the two of them. We had a huge gap down on Amazon. It closed on the day prior at 675. Next day we're opening 655. So anytime we get a 3% gap down like this, what can we say about the battle? You know, the war that we're always talking about on level 2. Who's winning the war in this case, and then who will we be watching for to win the battle? Well, we're gapping down 3%, so we already know the bears are winning the war. Now it's a matter of who starts winning the battle once the market opens up. So I'm just going to click play and comment on some of the things I'm seeing here on level 2 and what I should have been doing. And again, I make a poor trade here. I don't do what I should have been doing. But check out this ask pressure and notice how much stacking we get and how quickly the asks come down and how they just continue to whack out bids. So right out of the gate, you're seeing it on Amazon, and you also start to see the same thing on Tesla, which had been gapping down pretty hard as well. You see that ask stack on Tesla, whacks out 31 bids, more ask stacking. Now the asks are coming below 31. Now I'm back to Amazon. Now when I moved away from Amazon, it was at 655. Now it's at 653s. And look at that pressure there, just tons of ask commitment. The bids try to bounce. You try to bounce right here, and this is where I start to make a bad trade. I place a bid to take some shares long because I'm looking for a bounce in the stock because it has started to bounce a little bit, but I lose sight of the fact that the bears are in charge. They're the ones that gap the stock down 3%. So it's smarter at this point, in my opinion, to be betting on the short trade, not the long trade. Where I wouldn't start betting on the long trade, when I would start betting on a long trade is if the stock started to make new highs. Amazon does not make new highs. It stays below its opening price, which is something we always talk about off of a gap down. Does it stay below the opening price or not? And Tesla's doing the same thing. It gapped down 3% and it's having a real hard time moving above its opening price, which is always a tell on a stock. If you can't even get above that opening price off of a gap down, and here's Amazon testing 656, which was where it opened, then you know there's a lot of weakness there. And you know there could be some follow-through downside potential. So I've filled my starter on Amazon. And again, this is a bad trade. In hindsight, when I watched it, I understand what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bounce the gap down, but it's a very aggressive trade where it couldn't get above that opening price. And I was annoyed that I didn't take the other side and short it versus the opening price and bet on the bears, because the bears had already shown a 3% gap down, which was such a good gap down, and they were showing really solid ask pressure when the stock moved down, and when it tried to bounce, it got rejected perfectly at the opening price. I didn't do the right trade. That's neither here nor there at this point. But the point I'm trying to stress now is how much ask pressure there is, and that when we see this ask pressure, we, and I specifically, need to be better at getting aggressive on the short side, because it's very rare on a stock like Amazon to trade with such heavy ask pressure like it does here. But again, I'll click play and you can just see for yourself heavy down ticks, heavy stack at 54.96, and look at this down tick right here. It's going to go 54.95 right down to 54.39. You see that? That action right there tells you all you need to know about the direction of the stock. I'm just going to rewind it so we can see it again. I rewound so we could see Amazon again here. And I want you to pay attention when I go back to it, how we go from stacking at 54.96 to within the snap of a finger stacking at 54.39 and then stacking in the 53.90s. So here's the stack at 54.96, and check this out. There's the drop down to 54.30s, and there's the drop down to 53.90s. So within about 15 seconds you drop $1 on the ask side of level 2. That is very fast-paced action, very aggressive down ticks. And it continues, you know, to keep going down. Now there's going to be a bounce attempt here soon, and again the asks are able to come right back down. So here's the bounce attempt. Tries to bounce, you know, $1 back up, but again look at those asks come back down, takes them out for a second, and then again just comes right back down. Now here's a real tell, and this is something that, you know, I've been watching level 2 now for a couple years, and I haven't seen, or I can't remember seeing action like this. I rewound it. I'm going to try and pause it at this point that I want to make. Okay, so asks are below 54. It's going to take the asks out. Okay, right here. It takes the asks back above 54, right? Check out our spread, guys. 53.08 on the bid, 54.21 on the ask. That is a very wide spread. That's $1.20 spread. So when this happens, the question is, who tightens up the spread? Does the spread tighten up because the asks come down closer to the bids? Does the spread tighten up because the bids come up closer to the asks? Or does the spread come up, tighten up because they kind of both uptick or downtick and they meet in the middle? Amazon, you're going to see the spread tighten up because the asks come closer to the bids. And what I haven't seen often is it doesn't just tighten up because these asks go from 54.21 down to 54 and then 53.80, 53.50. It tightens up because a whole bunch of asks show back up all of a sudden at 53.50. So in other words, we get about a 70-cent downtick by the ask side pretty instantly. Click play again so you'll see it here. You see that? Came down to 53.60, took them back up, and then boom, right back down. Check that out. I'll show it one more time. I think this is important. I rewound, so you'll see it again here over the next 60 seconds. So there's the upticks, takes it back above 54. We're going to get one downtick, it takes them out again, and then a hard-ass downtick right back to 53.50. Look at that, just huge downticks right there. So, long story short, that action, first 5 minutes of the day, should have told me all I needed to know about the stock. I mean, it's so easy to see when you watch it back on film like this, but this is why we watch film, so that we can, you know, get our eyes familiar to it. When you see action like that on the ask side, boy, is it a short trade. And if we fast forward later on, Amazon was at 652. Look where we're at now. 1 hour later, we're at 644. And another 40 minutes later, okay, I'm looking at Google. Let's try and find Amazon again. well, I know Amazon was a lot lower. I guess I didn't look at it that much after I got burned playing the bounce. I didn't look at it too much, but Amazon ended up hitting 627 that day. So the heavy action out of the gate in the opening minutes signaled how much pressure there could be on the day, and it never let up. And ultimately the stock dropped another 30 points from the opening price and just had an awful day. I can't remember off the top of my head, with the exception of maybe some earnings reactions, seeing level 2 action like that. So it was a good learning experience for me when I watched it back on film, and that's why I wanted to play it for you guys so that you could see it as well, because I really think there's a lot of good education there in watching that level 2 activity by Amazon. Any questions about that? Alright guys, well that's all I got for you tonight. I appreciate you guys showing up. I hope you learned something. We will have another one of these 2 weeks from today, more than likely. Earnings season starts next week. We got Netflix earnings 1 week from today, next Tuesday after hours. I will have a reaction to those earnings when they come out, and we'll start diving into that type of stuff. So lots of potential coming up here, and just gotta keep doing my best, and you guys need to do the same, and hopefully we'll have some good trades here over the next couple weeks. Thanks guys, have a good night. This was recorded. It will be posted within the next 24 hours.